on into the November episode of Strategy Game News. We've got some super awesome titles in store for you today, and as usual, this video is time-stamped. So if you're looking for a particular game, you can just scrub through the timeline and stop at what grabs your interest. As per usual, please just keep in mind that I am affiliated with Hooded Horse, but it doesn't affect the fact that their games are on this list because they're strategy games. And as always, a massive thank you to Into the AM for sending me some super cool shirts to wear while I record these episodes. Into the AM sends me these super comfy t-shirts so that I can be cool and cozy while I'm working on content creation, and they are completely human designs. You can check out their art design process over on their new series called Behind the Tea over on their Instagram account. Into the AM are currently holding their Black Friday sales, which are their biggest sales throughout the year. You can use the link down in the description below for up to 60% off select items, and you can use my code for another cheeky 10% on top of that. And now, let's away into one of the most exciting releases of 2025. Mount & Blade Bannerlord War Sales got a new gameplay showcase and release date. This hotly anticipated DLC will release this month on November 26th. War Sales adds one of the most requested features since Bannerlord launched in 2020. Naval combat now plays a huge role in your conquest of Calradia, including ship-to-ship boarding action, ramming, and ship-mounted siege equipment. You'll be able to command your fleet of ships, giving strategic instruction in battle to ensure victory upon the water. We also got our first look at some specific capabilities, including if your character can survive falling off the deck, and the answer is yes for a little while, while your troops have different chances depending on their tier, background, and armor weight. If they remain in the water for too long, they'll take damage and eventually drown. Sinking an enemy ship will send the enemy troops fleeing for the nearest friendly in the hope of climbing aboard before their time runs out. So, mad props if you manage to kick an enemy NPC off the deck, and absolutely feel free to tag me in clips of this on Twitter. War Sales also features the addition of a brand new faction, the Nords, while altering the landscape of our beloved Calradia to provide their home. Along with the faction comes new character customization options, as well as perks and skill options to assist you on the water. You'll also be able to customize your ships with equipment and rams, and you'll also need to account for naval threats if you decide to conquer towns and castles along the coastlines. This is the first DLC for Mount & Blade Bannerlord, which at the time of writing has sold over 8.2 million copies. It's safe to say that this is one of the most highly anticipated releases in the strategy game sphere this year, and honestly, I'm loving what I'm seeing. The gameplay showcase was very raw, which for me reinforced a lot of trust in the concept. I think we can all agree that some overly cinematic trailers don't really indicate to us what the actual gameplay is going to look like. But War Sales looks like Bannerlord on boats. And that's what I'm totally here for. Also a shout out to the soundtrack editions. The new songs are sure to get the blood pumping as we surge across the seas. War Sales will release on Xbox, PS5 and PC on November 26th. The self-described love letter to management sims Tavern Keeper from Greenheart Games released on November 3rd. This charming management sim from the developers of Game Dev Tycoon invites you to craft a fantasy tavern with all the trimmings. Engage with a rich, narrative-driven storyline while catering to your customers and navigating spontaneous events that attempt to throw a spanner in your operations. You'll be able to construct taverns in different regions across the fantasy map, exploring different challenges and settings along the way. With a host of crazy characters and narrative options, you'll be in for a different experience in each location. Customization of both your decor and playstyle is a big focus for Tavern Keeper, allowing you to tailor your experience with the game to exactly your liking. Greenheart Games have made no secret of the fact that fun is their goal when it comes to their games. The days I lost to Game Dev Tycoon back this up, and have provided options for the player to make this happen. Tavern Keeper is now available on Steam in Early Access. Grand strategy series Europa Universalis from Paradox got its newest installment on November 4th. EU5 sees the player in charge of a host of nations with a number of choices and actions before them on the road to victory. You can punch on with the other nations or decide to keep things a bit more level-headed, focusing on your citizens' well-being and quality of life. The world is your oyster, and you'll have plenty of options to remake it in your ideal image. A true grand strategy game, EU5 has a huge scope across playstyles and actions from the minute to the massive. If you're looking for your next spreadsheet game addiction, I'd recommend chucking this one on your have a squiz list, and let me know down in the comments below what you think of this newest GSG if you've already checked it out. Also on November 4th, we got the early access release of Generation Exile, a turn-based city builder self-published by Sonderlust Studios. A bit of a surprising EA release with only 4 days notice given, this city builder explores life on a Generation starship. With a heavy focus on recycling and sustainability, the player will need to carefully plan and construct their city using the limited resources available from the ship. This solarpunk setting will encourage the player to think critically of their planning and execution. You'll need to reduce, reuse, and recycle to ensure the success and survival of your citizens. Procedurally generated characters provide story opportunities that differ from run to run, and certain effects throughout the game will affect how your citizens view you. Generation Exile seems a little different from other city builders that have come out recently, which piques the interest. I'll also admit to having a soft spot for environmental themed games and some cheeky hopecore from time to time. Fans of Terra Nil should investigate this one, now available on Steam. Kicking off our next segment now with Sports Interactive releasing Football Manager 2026. The game is not traditional strategy, but it is a management game that makes my co-writer Wardog mad, and that in itself is its own reward. The release of FM26 is quite a big deal for the usually annually released series, after last year's game was quite controversially sent off by the referee. Are we going to be cramming this full of football puns? That's what. Okay, alright. The cancellation of the previous title was due to the game's generational switch to the Unity engine, which we've seen in action on the game's beta release, and it is a huge upgrade from where the game used to be. There are a few bugs that we're hoping will be booked over the coming weeks. Wardog. Once the bugs are taken care of, we think football fans, or soccer fans if you're wrong, we do believe fans of the sport and management games will enjoy this one. Football Manager released on November 4th. Anyone up for a little game of cat and mouse? City builder Whiskerwood from Minakata Dynamics and Hooded Horse released into early access on November 6th. In Whiskerwood, you play as a colony of mice sent far across the seas to establish a thriving settlement. As your cat overlords demand higher and higher tax payments, you'll need to look after your mice, providing shelter, food, and luxuries in order for them to work harder and faster. While Whiskerwood may look cozy and cute, do not be fooled. This city builder is more akin to Frostpunk than Timberborn. You'll need to keep your mice warm in winter, look after them when they're sick or injured, and manage pollution levels as you expand, while enacting policies to keep your colony moving. Construct automated production chains, dig deep into the terrain, and build high to conserve precious square footage, all while engaging in diplomacy with your cat masters and completing quests to earn favour. Whiskerwood currently has a demo available, so feel free to check it out before getting your paws on the game. Anno 117 releases into EA on November 13th. This hotly anticipated city builder got its first demo back in September and was super well received by fans of the series and new players alike. With updated graphics and mechanics, this entry in the series has been building hype since its announcement in December last year. In Anno 117, you'll create a brand new Roman city to rival that of the capital. Choosing from 2 regions, Latium and Albion, you'll govern a brand new city and choose which direction it takes, from which deities are worshipped to which traditions are honoured. Championing all of the city builder staples of management, planning and governance, Anno tosses us back in time to one of the richest periods of history. 117 has also nabbed my interest because, well, having just read The Will of the Many by James Islington, I'm tempted to recreate the book's Roman-inspired setting within Anno 117. The visuals we've seen from this game are already gorgeous, and Islington's world matches it perfectly, so why not? Anno 117 will be available in just a few days, unlocking on November 13th, so pop this one on your wishlist to be notified when it goes live. Paradox Interactive released their most ambitious DLC ever for their Crusader Kings 3 title on October 28th, All Under Heaven. For those unfamiliar, Crusader Kings is a grand strategy role-playing game set in the medieval era of Europe from 867 AD to 1456 AD. As a player, you take control of a family dynasty and fight to establish your bloodline at the top of the medieval order. Think warring houses in Game of Thrones, which, by the way, there are many conversion mods for CK3, and one of the biggest ones is actually a Game of Thrones mod, which is very cool. But back to our own world. The map you had to play on before All Under Heaven spanned from Portugal in the west to India in the east, and from the cold northern tip of Scandinavia to sub-Saharan Africa. already an enormous area for you to try and conquer. All Under Heaven has expanded that map east to include China, Japan, Southeast Asia, and much of Indonesia, bringing with it new cultures, new religions, and new government types to showcase the situations these places found themselves in around this time. The map alone has grown by almost a third in size. There is honestly too much for us to be able to tell you everything in detail, but there are new types of troops to command, new titles to hold, new systems to game, and lots of beautiful new artwork to reflect these newly introduced cultures. There are 3 new government types: the Celestial Government of China, focused on the Emperor holding the mandate of heaven to keep an enormous bureaucracy of governors and warlords in check; the Shogunate system in Japan, a government where vying samurai lords compete to rule as the Emperor's regent or install themselves as shogun; and the Mandala system in Southeast Asia, a god-king government that dominates a network of voluntary tributaries but must be seen as worthy if they want to hold their empire together, else their client states may just drift away from them. Crusader King sits in a very niche gap between traditional grand strategy games and character-driven role-playing games, telling stories of love, war, and power. Your stories. Will you murder and plot your way to the top? Move people like chess pieces through noble titles and marriage proposals? Or simply take your sword in hand and carve out an empire for yourself with blood and fire? Whatever stories you tell, you can now tell them in the realms of the Far East as well. Crusader Kings 3 All Under Heaven released on October 28th and is out now. And lastly, German indie developer PDP-GPR and publisher Aerosoft have released a demo for Global Rescue, an emergency services dispatch title that we've only discovered in the last couple of weeks. The game seems to live in a similar wheelhouse to the operator games such as 112 and 911, where the player sends police, fire, medical services, and SWAT teams to respond to emergency calls generated on a map. The maps use similar technology to the aforementioned operator titles to allow players to play anywhere in the world, including their hometown. And while this is not a feature available in the demo, it didn't stop it from being any less charming. The generated map is a little clunky and obviously not a full and accurate representation of the buildings in the area, but has a playmat feel to it, which my co-writer promises is a positive. Apparently, pushing little police cars and fire trucks around to calls unlocked some kind of core memory for him. With a bit of vehicle, staff management, and base building thrown in for good measure, Global Rescue's demo is certainly worth checking out if you think it may also be a path back to your own childhood. However, we do feel the need to disclose that their Steam page outlines some use of AI to create placeholder artwork, but an announcement in their Discord has also said that many of these have already been replaced. And those are the games that we took a look at in November, and a couple of sneaky ones there at the end in October. I hope you found some cool games to put on your Steam wishlists, though between you and me, come here. Between you and me, my Steam wishlist is getting quite large, and the year isn't over yet. I know there's a couple of games that we've been keeping an eye on moving into December, so let's see if there's some surprising releases before the end of this year. As always, if you think I missed a game or if you'd like to recommend something for me to check out, feel free to pop a comment down in the comments section below, and if you're a developer who'd like to see your game on the channel and you'd like me to check it out, feel free to email me at ReneeSkyPlease@gmail.com. Don't forget that Into the AM sale is still going on, but it's not going to last forever, so if you've been checking out some of their shirts, there's never been a better time to indulge in some light shopping for yourself before the Christmas season starts. Thank you guys so much for watching the November episode of Strategy Game News, and I'll see you in December.